the question I want to throw to all of you is, given the results of the elections, given the fact of where we are now, is that a consequence of the fact that people are deceived by advertisement, commercial world, culture, blah, 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 blah? Or is it the other way around, that people are deceived by the promises of our so-called liberal democracy? And Rod, 4 years ago, you published this brilliant book, Live Not by Lies, in which you wrote the following: in the West today, we are living under decadent, pre-totalitarian conditions. Social atomization, loneliness, leave totalitarian temptation. The intellectual, cultural, academic elites, a left-wing political cult, an illiberal ideology that shares alarming commonalities with Bolshevism, dividing humanity in good and evil. It's a pseudo-religion. I take it from this that you think it's liberal democracy that has deceived people, or?
I would disagree there. It's
with yourself, or?
No. I would disagree with your premise.
Okay.
That just because the people voted in a way that the elites don't like, that doesn't mean that liberal democracy has been rejected. I mean, this is something that we get used to, seeing people in the media, academia, and politics saying, well, democracy is on the line, as with the recent US election. No, it's not. It's not necessarily that at all, just because people reject what the elites have given them.
I agree with Rod that we need to be careful. America remains a functioning democracy, and just because I didn't like the outcome of the election doesn't mean that I would argue that it wasn't a free and fair election and that the results did not reflect the majority view at this moment in time. But I want to offer a cautionary note on that and remind everyone that Vladimir Putin 25 years ago became president of Russia in a free and fair election. And what he then did was he used a narrative of grievance and intolerance and not trusting society to make its own choices, and began to set about eliminating the institutions that ensure free and fair elections and ensure that leaders, elites, are held accountable by the citizens, which is what democracy is. So he set about eliminating independent media. He set about eliminating actual private businessmen, put some of them in jail, including Mikhail Khodorkovsky, and in place put in control of the Russian economy and very wealthy elements, corrupt cronies who he could trust politically. And those are the people who run, that's Russia's elite today. So you have a political system that is not accountable, in which political opposition has been either disempowered or more recently, individuals actually killed one way or another by the state. And you have a political system that is entrenched and is ensuring that for the foreseeable future, you could not have free and fair elections, and Putin remains in power. And the result of that political system, which is very bad for Russians, and is exactly Russia's version of what happens when society cannot make its own choices in free and fair elections, is you have this horrible war in the middle of Europe. Because that is a war that is terrible for Russia, for Russian citizens, not just the soldiers who are being killed, who don't know what they're being sent into. But it is a war that Putin is using to fuel the grievances, the misinformation, the intolerance, in order to ensure that he remains in power. So at stake in the United States and in Europe isn't just your our internal politics and those elements of democracy that ensure that citizens actually get to make choices and hold their leadership accountable, because in the end, that's how democracy works. It is also international wars, it is conflict, and it is violence, because those are the tools that autocrats, once they are in power, use also to remain in power, and that's what's at stake.